ran by rivers and streams, which seemed from the wide stony margin on each side of them to be subject to great floods. It takes a lot of water and running strong to sweep the outside edge of a river clear.
Hey Nancy.
At every station there were groups of people.
How's it going?
And in all sorts of attire. Some of them were just like peasants at home, or those I saw coming through France and Germany, with short jackets and round hats and homemade trousers, but others were very picturesque. The women looked pretty, except when you got near them, but they were very clumsy about the waist. They had all full white sleeves of some kind or other, and most of them had big belts with a lot of strips of something fluttering from them like the dresses in a ballet, but of course there were petticoats under them. The strange...
I'm doing pretty good. I just ate at that new place in town, the Franks and Feta. It's okay. I don't want to say anything too bad because I like to support a local business, but my hot dog bun was stale, and I was like, Franks and Feta, if that's gonna be your main attraction, is Franks or hot dogs, you should have not stale buns. But Jeremy's aunt and uncle, one of them got a Euro burger looking thing, and then the other one got an actual Euro, and they said that they were the best Euros they've had since they went to Parthenon's in Madison, so definitely gonna try it again, but yeah, it was a little bit of a bummer. I'm still gonna give it another try. I almost went up to the counter and was gonna say something, because I want them to do well. So Nancy, this is my fairy painting, obviously, but I have to get this painting done so I can enter it into another gallery. Try at least twice and decide. That's a good rule. I like that rule. So what are you and my dad up to this weekend? Anything fun? This weather, I'm sure, is making you guys want to get that motorcycle out.
Yes, I said. Jonathan Harker. She smiled and gave some message to an elderly man in white shirt sleeves who had followed her to the door. He waved, but immediately returned with a letter. My friend, welcome to the Carpathians. I am anxiously expecting you. Sleep well tonight. At 3 tomorrow, the diligence will start for Bukovina. A place on it is kept for you. At the Borgo Pass, my carriage will await you and will bring you to me. I trust that your journey from London has been a happy one.
Hey Sean, how's it going? It's gorgeous today. He had a long bar day yesterday. The pool tournament, he's resting. Yeah, I'm sure when you have a real fun Saturday, then Sunday is a day of rest.
This could not be true, because up to then he had understood.
Tell my dad I said
He
hello.
answered my questions exactly as if he did. He and his wife.
I went to that gallery yesterday and started getting really nervous on the way there, and chilling here, mid-60s sunny in Arkansas or Kansas. Shoot, I always get those two mixed up, but I think you're in Arkansas. Awesome. It's actually similar here. It's let me see if this tells me the weather. 57 degrees here, so super similar. Someone named Abs joined. Hello, Abs. Anyways, Nancy, I think I was telling you I gotta finish this painting as soon as possible, and then have some photographer come over here and take a picture, and then I have to submit this painting to another gallery
she said again.
that's all about
I know that.
transformation
Or am I saying that I did not understand?
or your path to
It is
transformation.
the eve of St. George's Day. Do you not know that tonight, when the clock strikes midnight, all the evil things in the world will have
But yeah, I don't really like having a deadline, but here we go. That's life.
In such evident distress that I tried to comfort her, but without effect. Finally, she went
We're all listening to Dracula.
implored me
Okay, keep painting. Love it. Thank you.
before starting.
Thank you so much. You said you love the green. I do
I did
too.
not feel comfortable.
The green is
There was business to be done.
called
I could allow
chromium
nothing to interfere.
oxide green.
I therefore tried to raise her up and said
I obviously like green too. Sweater, glasses.
that my duty was imperative and that I must go. She then rose and dried her eyes, and taking a crucifix from her neck, offered it to me. I did not know what to do, for as an English churchman, I had been taught to regard such things as in some measure idolatrous, and yet
I'm using an
it seemed so
acrylic
ungracious
medium
refuse
to
an old
kind
lady
of thin the
living so well and in
paint.
such a state of mind. She saw.
It's
I
a
suppose,
glazing
doubt into
medium.
my face, for she put the rosary around my neck and said, "For your mother's sake."
A glazing medium so that I can thin the paint without using water so that I'm not disturbing the adhesion of the paint to the canvas. Water, which I love using.
Or the crucifix
Um,
itself, I do not know.
It's actually
I
not
am
good for the
nearly as easy in my mind.
longevity of the
If it
painting's
should ever
life,
reach me,
so
let it
I want my
be.
paintings to last forever.
Here comes the
So I
coach.
guess we better play by the rules of
5th of May, the castle.
chemical bonding.
The grey of the morning has passed, and the sun is high over the distant horizon, which seems jagged. Whether with trees or hills, I know not, for it is so far off that big things and little are mixed. I am not sleepy, and as I am not to be called
Just trying to
awake,
block in the
naturally,
darkest
I rise
values,
to
and then I'll go back in with the
There are
lighter
many
color.
things to take
Hi,
note
Bo.
of.
Thank you for
Lest
joining.
you may fancy that I dined too well before I left Biscuit.
I'm just
Let me put down
painting.
my dinner exactly.
Sometimes I forget you guys are here. Sometimes I will engage with you. Go ahead and ask a question. I'll try and answer, but
sticks and roasted over the fire.
yeah, sometimes I'm just in the zone.
The wine was golden red.
But the glazing medium, you can use water, up to 25%
I
water
had only a couple of
for
drops of
thinning,
this and nothing else. When I got on the coach,
without
the driver had
compromising
not
the
taken his seat, and I saw him talking with the landlady.
paint and the
They were evidently talking of me,
bonding
for
of
every
it.
now and then they looked at me, and some of the people who were sitting on the bench outside the door, which they call by a name meaning word bearer, came and listened.
Once she all dries, I'm gonna go in and darken the sections closest to her from the wing to kind of give it some more depth. Right now, it just kind of feels like she's maybe in front of the wings instead of the wings are attached to her. At least that's how it makes me feel.
Say, Pokol, Hell, Stragoika, Witch, Vrolok, and
Stragoika.
Kokoshak, both of which mean the same thing, one being Slovak and the other Serbian for something that is either werewolf or vampire.
Undead.
Ma'am, I must ask the Count about these superstitions.
I talked to my
The
audiobook,
crowd
sorry.
round the inn door, which had by this time swelled to a considerable size, all made the sign of the cross and pointed 2 fingers towards me. With some difficulty, I got a fellow passenger to tell me what they meant. He would not answer at first, but on learning that I was English, he explained that it was a charm, or guard against the evil eye. It was not very pleasant for me, just starting for an unknown place to meet an unknown man, but everyone seemed
I think
so
I got a new
kind
job
to me,
today.
so sort of
I have a mural planned for somebody has an old schoolhouse that they use now for like live music shows and yoga classes. And it kind of sucks because I was like So do you want to have control, like down to color, design, or do you want me to just do something? Hi King, thanks for joining. Do you want to have more say, or do you want me to have full artistic freedom? And she's like, full artistic freedom for you. And I'm like, oh gosh, yay. So then I start saying things, and they start getting really specific about the things they want. And I'm like, oh, so yeah, we're gonna definitely rearrange my thought process about it. But yeah, I got a mural painting in my future. It's a big one too, probably like 4 feet by, oh my gosh, 20 feet.
Under the trees spangled with the fallen petals. In and out amongst these green hills of what they call here the Mickle land ran the road, losing itself as it swept round the grassy curve.
Why can't you just get smooth?
Which here and there ran down the hillsides like tongues of flame. The road was rugged, but still we seemed to fly over it with feverish haste. I could not understand then what the haste meant, but the driver was evidently bent on losing no time in reaching Borgo Prund. I was told that this road is in summertime excellent, but that it had not yet been put in order after the winter snows. In this respect, it is different from the general run of roads in the Carpathians, for it is an old tradition that they are not to be kept in too good order.
Going over the
of old, the hospodars
darker lines,
lest the Turks should think that they were preparing to bring in foreign troops.
Slowly moving back into the middle, so that some of the paint is
beyond the green
still on the brush, but not too much paint on the brush.
Rose mighty slopes of forest up to the lofty steeps of the Carpathians themselves. Right and left of us they towered, with the afternoon sun falling full upon them and bringing out all the glorious colours of this.
Hi TikTok nonstop.
Deep blue,
or whoever's in here watching. Hi.
Green and brown, where grass and rock mingled, and an endless
Happy Sunday.
Jagged rock and pointed crags, till these were themselves lost in the distance, where the snowy peaks rose grandly. Here and there seemed mighty rifts in the mountains, through which, as the sun began to sink, we saw now and again the white gleam of falling water. One of my companions touched my arm as we swept round the base of the hill, and opened up the lofty snow-covered peak of a mountain, which seemed, as we wound on our serpentine way, to be right before us. Look,
this is Dracula that we're listening to.
As we wound on our endless way, and the sun sank lower and lower behind us, the shadows of the evening began.
He actually just finished it.
This was emphasized by the fact that the snowy mountain top still held the sunset.
I found out that because it was written before 1929 that it is royalty free.
But I noticed that Goiter was painfully clever.
Because I just finished it, I don't really need to concentrate that much on it.
As we swept by, my companions all
good to play in the background.
Here and there was a
and it's royalty free, so
before a shrine.
Nobody's stealing nothing here.
We approached that seemed, in the self-surrender of devotion, to have neither eyes nor ears for the outer world. There were many things new to me. For instance, hayricks in the trees, and here and there very beautiful masses of weeping birch, their white stems shining like silver through the delicate green of the leaves. Now and again we passed a lighter wagon, the ordinary peasant's cart, with its long snake-like vertebra, calculated to suit the inequality. Thanks for watching. How is everybody? Absolutely wow, freaking wow. Quit it. Thank you. Yes, I love her. She's looking so good. There's like a glare on her, but it's like a little bit better, I guess. But yeah, I love the way she's turning out too. I'm gonna enter her in another gallery. I don't know if you saw my my other angel wing one.
It's got a glossy finish on it, so it's kind of hard to show in the light.
Which carried on the thoughts and grim fancies engendered earlier in the year.
And I got my fan art all framed. I'm gonna hang them up soon. Oh, I love this part. How cool is that? That one. I'm crying happy tears. Girl, you're so awesome.
No, he said. You must not walk here. The dogs are
You are the best.
And then he added with what he had
Seriously.
grim pleasantry, for he looked
Oh, you're always giving me encouragement, and
and you
I appreciate you so much.
before you go to sleep. The only stop he would make was a moment's pause to light his lamps. When it grew dark, there seemed to be some excitement among
I think,
and they kept speaking to him.
for Mother's Day, I'm gonna try and
To further speed.
do my hand at hosting like a
Mercifully with his long whip, with wild
an acrylic pouring class. I don't know if you've ever heard of the acrylic pouring, but
I could see a sort of grey light ahead of us.
it'd be so cool, like, to do something like for Mother's Day, like you and your like mother-daughter creating some art together, like and it's not like a normal wine and paint where you go in and you have to paint like their picture. Like, you can pick any colors you want with the acrylic pouring.
Seemed to come nearer to us on each side and to frown down.
I just haven't picked where I'm gonna do it yet, and I haven't bought
One by one,
the paint yet, but I'm damn determined to do it, so
with an earnestness which would take no denial. These were certainly of
I just gotta find a place that's gonna be okay with like a bunch of people painting. And it doesn't have to obviously be daughter mother, it can be like a son and mother and anybody that wants to do anything for Mother's Day.
Then, as we flew along, the driver leaned forward, and on each side, passengers, craning over the edge of the coach, appeared.
I gotta step back and look at it.
It was evident that something very exciting
Now lean back.
or expected.
Lean back.
But though I asked each
Just kidding.
passenger, no one would give me the slightest explanation. This state of excitement kept on for some little time, and at last we saw before us the pass over
Hi,
the
everybody.
eastern side. There were dark, rolling clouds overhead, and in the air the heavy, oppressive sense of thunder. It seemed as though the mountain range had separated two atmospheres. And
I like her
that now we had
dress,
gone to the
but
thunderous one. I was now myself
I
looking
really
out for the
need
conveyance
like
which was to take me
some
to the
sort
camp.
of
Each moment I
contrast.
expected to see the glare of lamps through the blackness, but all was dark. The only light was the flickering rays of our own lamps, in which the steam from our hard-driven horses rose in a white.
I hope everybody's having a great
We could see
Sunday.
the sandy road lying white before us, but there was on it no sign of a vehicle. The passengers drew back with a sigh of
If
relief.
you're local, I did try that new
I was already thinking what I had
Franks and
better do,
Feta,
when the driver, looking at his watch,
and
said
it
to
was
the other
pretty
something that
good.
I could hardly hear.
Definitely think everybody should try it.
So low a tone. I thought it was an hour less than the time. Then, turning to me, he said in German worse than my own, "There is no carriage here. The Herr, he is not expected after all. He will now come on to Bukovina and return tomorrow or the next day. Better the next day." Whilst he was speaking, the horses began to neigh and snort and plunge wildly.
You
So
are
the driver had to
so
hold them.
pretty. Oh my goodness, I don't even know how I come up with this stuff.
And a universal crossing of themselves.
Oh
A
my
collection
goodness, I
with
love
four
this
horses
painting.
Drove up behind us, overtook us, and drew up beside the coach.
Just very lightly
I could see
coming
from the
into
flash
this
of our
leaf. I want the
lamps as
leaf
rays
to
fell on them
stay
that the horses were
really
cold-blooded and
prominent.
splendid animals. They were driven by a tall man with a long brown beard and a great black hat.
The
which
leaf
seemed
is
to
kind of
hide his
protecting
face from us.
her,
I could
protecting
only
her
see the gleam
identity.
of a pair of very bright eyes, which seemed red in the lamplight, as he turned to us. He said to the driver, "You are early tonight, my friend." The man
It's a big canvas, you gotta kind of
the English hare was in a hurry. To which the
move your body
replied,
around since you
"That
can't
is
really
why
move the
I suppose you
canvas.
wished him to go on to Bukovina.
Not
You
much
cannot
anyways.
deceive me, my friend. I know too much, and my horses are swift." As he spoke, he smiled, and the lamplight fell on a hard-looking mouth with very red lips and sharp-looking teeth, as white as ivory. One of my companions whispered to another the line from Burger's Lenore. "Denn die Toten reiten schnell." For the dead travel fast. The strange driver evidently heard the words, for he looked up.
Putting
with
a
gleaming
shadow.
smile. The passenger turned his face
Love
away,
to work
at
with
the same time
dramatic
putting out his two
light.
fingers and crossing himself.
Lighting is
"Give me the
everything.
heaviest luggage," said the driver, and with exceeding alacrity my bags were handed out and put in the caleche. Then I descended from the side of the coach as the caleche was close alongside, the driver helping me with a hand which caught my arm in a grip of steel. His strength must have been prodigious. Without a word, he shook his reins. The horses turned, and we swept into the darkness of the pass. As I looked back, I saw the steam from the horses of the coach by the light of the lamps.
How's everybody doing today?
Because of my late companions crossing themselves. Then the driver cracked his whip and called to his horses, and off they swept on their way to Bukovina. As they sank into the darkness, I felt a strange chill, and a lonely feeling came over me. But a cloak was thrown over my shoulders, and a rug across my knees, and the driver said in excellent German, "The night is chill, mein Herr, and my master's account bade me take all care of you. There is a flask of Slivovitz, the plum brandy of the country, underneath the seat, if you should require it." I did not take any, but it was a comfort to know it was there all the same. I felt a little strangely, and not a little frightened. I think had there been any alternative, I should have taken it, instead of prosecuting that unknown night journey. The carriage went at a hard pace, straight along.
I know it kind of looks like I'm just painting over her face, but I don't have a very good view of it. Shoot. Guess that's a little better.
I really feared to do
so. Whatever. I'm not good with the lighting. I'm better at painting.
Would have had no effect in case there had been an intention to delay. By and by, however, as I was curious to know how time was passing, I struck a match, and by its flame looked at my watch. It was within a few minutes of midnight. This gave me a sort of shock, for I suppose the general superstition about midnight was increased by my recent experiences. I waited, with a sick feeling of suspense. Then a dog began to howl somewhere in a farmhouse far down the road. A long, agonized wailing as if from fear. The sound was taken up by another dog, and then another and another, till, borne on the wind which now sighed softly through the pass, a wild howling began, which seemed to come from all over the country, as far as the imagination could grasp it through the gloom of the night. At the first howl, the horses began to strain and rear, but the driver spoke to them soothingly, and they quieted down, but shivered and sweated as though after a runaway from sudden fright. Then, far off in the distance, from the mountains on each side of us began a louder and a sharper howling. That of wolves, which affected both the horses and myself in the same way, for I was minded to jump from the caleche and run, whilst they reared again and plunged madly, so that the driver had to use all his great strength to keep them from bolting. In a few minutes, however, my own ears got accustomed to the sound, and the horses so far became quiet. The driver was able to descend and to stand before them. He petted.
Hi, Jellycats.
And whispered something in
I love
ears,
cats.
as I have heard of horse tamers do, and with extraordinary effect, for under his caresses they became quite manageable again, though they still trembled. The driver again took his seat, and shaking his reins,
I'm gonna have to
started
get
off
a
at his
bigger
great pace.
paintbrush if we're going
This
to
time,
go into
after
that
going to the far
territory.
side of the pass, he suddenly turned down a narrow roadway which ran sharply to the right. Soon we were hemmed in with trees, which in places arched right over the roadway till we passed through a tunnel. And again, great frowning rocks guarded us boldly on either side. Though we were in shelter, we could hear the rising wind.
Time to get some green out.
And the branches of the trees crashed together as we swept along. It grew colder.
So for me to do the monotone look, I just use the background color for all the highlights. So this green is going to be all of the highlights. And I think it turns out pretty cool. I love doing the monotone or monochromatic. Monochromatic, just very limited color palette. Makes it a little harder to get depth, but it's kind of the fun part.
His head to left and right, but I could not see anything through the darkness. Suddenly, away on our left, I saw a faint flickering blue flame. The driver saw it at the same moment. He at once checked the horses and, jumping to the ground,
just got a beautiful cheekbone here.
I did not know what to do. The less as the howling of the wolves grew closer, but while I wondered, the driver suddenly appeared again and without a word took his seat, and we resumed our journey. I think I must have fallen asleep and kept dreaming of the incident, for it seemed to be repeated endlessly, and now looking back it's like a sort of awful nightmare. Once the flame appeared so near the road that even in the darkness around us I could watch the driver's motions. He went rapidly to where the blue flame arose. It must have been very faint, for it did not seem to illumine the place around it at all, and gathering a few stones, formed them into some device. Once there appeared a strange optical effect. When he stood between me and the flame, he did not obstruct it, for I could see its ghostly flicker all the same. This startled me, but as the effect was only momentary, I took it that my eyes deceived me, straining through the darkness. Then, for a time, there were no blue flames, and we sped onwards through the gloom with the howling of the wolves around us, as though they were following in a moving circle. At last there came a time when the driver went further afield than he had yet gone, and during his absence the horses began to tremble worse than ever and to snort and scream with fright. I could not see any cause for it, for the howling of the wolves had ceased altogether, but just then the moon, sailing through the black clouds, appeared behind the jagged crest of a beetling, pine-clad rock, and by its light I saw around us a ring of wolves, with white teeth and lolling red tongues, with long, sinewy limbs and shaggy hair. They were 100 times more terrible in the grim silence which held them than even when they howled. For myself, I felt a sort of paralysis of fear. It is only when a man feels himself face to face with such horrors that he can understand their true import. All at once, the wolves began to howl, as though the moonlight had had some peculiar effect on them. The horses jumped about and reared, and looked helplessly round with eyes that rolled in a way painful to see, but the living ring of terror encompassed them on every side, and they had perforce to remain within it. I called to the coachman to come, for it seemed to me that our only chance was to try to break out through the ring and to aid his approach. I shouted and beat the side of the caleche, hoping by the noise to scare the wolves from that side, so as to give him a chance of reaching the trap. How he came there, I know not, but I heard his voice raised in a tone of imperious command.
She's trying to be my favorite painting ever. It's working.
As he swept his long arms as though brushing aside some impalpable obstacle.
Don't put paint on your skin if anybody's watching. Don't think it's very good for you, but
so that we were again in darkness.
I can't help
I
it.
could see again. The driver was
Do a lot of things that aren't good for me.
The wolves had disappeared. This was all so strange and uncanny that a dreadful fear came upon me, and I was afraid to speak. The the time seemed interminable as we swept.
I'm sorry if anybody's asked me any questions or anything. I do try and answer, but
we kept on ascending with
just kind of concentrating on the painting. Such a terrible
I became conscious of the fact that the driver was in the act of
shot.
In the courtyard of a vast ruined castle, from whose tall black windows
Just so you can kind of see, I am building on some of those face highlights right now. But I need the light myself to see better, so we'll have to figure something out. If anybody is good at photography and has some tricks, let a girl know. I wonder if she should have an earring. Wouldn't that be cute?
Several dark ways led from it under great round arches. It perhaps seemed bigger than it really is. I have not yet been able to see it by daylight. When the caleche stopped, the driver jumped down and held out his hand to assist me to alight. Again, I could not but notice his prodigious strength. His hand actually seemed like a steel vice that could have crushed mine if he had chosen. Then he took out my traps and placed them on the ground beside me as I stood close to a great door, old and studded with large iron nails, and set in a projecting doorway of massive stone. I could see even in the dim light that the stone
Honey, are you in the kitchen?
but that the carving had been much worn by time and weather.
I just was talking to Nancy on here, and I guess my dad's super hungover today.
And trap and all disappeared down one.
My dad's like super hungover today.
I stood in silence,
Still sleeping.
for I did not know what to do. Of bell or knocker there was no sign. Through these frowning
Like daylight
walls and
savings
dark
time
windows,
really
it was not likely that my
can,
voice could penetrate. The
hit
time I
some
waited
people
seemed
hard.
endless, and I felt doubts and fears crowding upon me. What sort of place had I come to, and among what kind of people? What sort of grim adventure was it on which I had embarked? Was this a customary incident in the life of a solicitor's clerk sent out to explain the purchase of a London estate to a foreigner? Solicitor's clerk? Nina would not like that. Solicitor. But just before leaving London, I got word that my examination was successful, and I am now a full-blown solicitor. I began to rub my eyes, pinch myself to see if I were awake. It all seemed like a horrible nightmare to me, and I expected that I should suddenly awake and find myself at home, with the dawn struggling in through the windows as I had now and again felt in the morning after a day of overwork. But my flesh answered the pinching test, and my eyes were not to be deceived. I was indeed awake, and among the Carpathians. All I could do now was to be patient, and to wait the coming of the morning. Just as I had come to this conclusion, I heard a heavy step approaching behind the great door, and saw through the chinks the gleam of a coming light. Then there was the sound of rattling chains, and the clanking of massive bolts drawn back. A key was turned with the loud grating noise of long disuse, and the great door swung back. Within stood a tall old man, clean-shaven save for a long white moustache, and clad in black from head to foot, without a single speck of colour about him anywhere. He held in his hand an antique silver lamp, in which the flame burned without chimney or globe of any kind, throwing long, quivering shadows as it flickered in the draught of the open door.
Put some
The old
darker
man
in
motioned me with his
here.
right hand with a courtly gesture, saying in excellent English, but with a strange intonation, "Welcome to my house. Enter freely and of your own will." He made no motion of stepping to meet me, but stood like a statue, as though his gesture of welcome had fixed him into stone.
Enter
The instant,
Dracula.
however, that I had stepped over the threshold, he moved impulsively forward and, holding out his hand, grasped mine with a strength which made me wince, an effect which was not lessened by the fact that it seemed as cold as ice, more like the hand of a dead than a living man. Again, he said, "Welcome to my house. Come freely, go safely, and leave something of the happiness you bring." The strength of the handshake was so much akin to that which I had noticed in the driver, whose face I had not seen, that for a moment I doubted if it were not the same person to whom I was speaking. So, to make sure, I said, interrogatively. Count Dracula? He bowed in a courtly way as he replied, I am Dracula, and I bid you welcome, Mr. Harper, to my house. Come in. The night air is chill, and you must need to eat and rest. As he was speaking, he put the lamp on a bracket on the wall and, stepping out, took my luggage. He had carried it in before I could forestall him. I protested, but he
The nose doesn't look like a nose until it's done.
It is late, and you might be belong with the lady.
But there's always like that middle spot where it's just like, ugh. How do you get it there? Hey Kevin, what's up? I don't know what I did with my camera here last time I was goofing around with it. Kevin, I found out that the lights I need to paint aren't good for videoing, as you can see. How is your Sunday going, Kevin?
Crossing the room opened another door, which led into a small octagonal room lit by a single lamp, and seemingly without a window.
Okay, you're gonna look like a nose.
He opened another door, and
I said so.
It was a welcome sight, for here was a great bedroom, well lighted and warmed with another log fire, also added to, but lately, for the top logs were fresh, which sent a hollow roar up the wide chimney. The Count himself left my luggage inside and withdrew, saying, before he closed the door, you will need
We're listening to Count Dracula. Kevin, if you
I trust you will find
are listening with me.
When you are ready, come into the other room, where you will find your supper prepared. The light and warmth of the Count's courteous welcome seemed to have dissipated all my doubts and fears. Having then reached my normal state, I discovered that I was half famished with hunger. So making a hasty toilet, I went into the other room. I found supper already laid out. My host, who stood on one side of the great fireplace, leaning against the stonework, made a graceful wave of his hand to the table and said, I pray you, be seated and sup how you please. You will, I trust, excuse me that I do not join you, but I have dined already and I do not sup. I handed to him the sealed letter which Mr. Hawkins entrusted to me. He opened it and read it gravely. Then, with a charming smile, he handed it to me to read. One passage of it, at least, gave me a thrill of pleasure. I must regret that an attack of gout, from which malady I am a constant sufferer, forbids absolutely any travelling on my part for some time to come. But I am happy to say I can send a sufficient substitute, one in whom I have every possible confidence. He is a young man, full of energy and talent in his own way, and of a very faithful disposition. He is discreet and silent, and has grown into manhood in my service. He shall be ready to attend on you when you will during his stay, and shall take your instructions in all matters. The Count himself came forward and took off the cover of a dish, and I fell to at once on an excellent roast chicken. This, with some cheese and a salad and a bottle of old Tokay, of which I had 2 glasses, was my supper.
We're gonna
During the
make
time I was eating it, the Count asked me many questions as to my journey, and I told him by degrees all I had experienced. By this time, I had finished my supper, and by my host's desire, had drawn up a chair by the fire and begun to smoke a cigar which he offered me, at the same time excusing himself if he did not smoke. I had now an opportunity.
It's looking alright, it's looking good.
A very marked physiognomy. His face was a very strong, aquiline, with high bridge of the thin nose and peculiarly arched nostrils, with a lofty domed forehead and hair growing scantily round the temples but profusely elsewhere. His eyebrows were very massive, almost meeting over the nose, and with bushy hair that seemed to curl in its own profusion. The mouth, so far as I could see it under the heavy moustache, was fixed and rather cruel looking, with peculiarly sharp white teeth. These protruded over the lips, whose remarkable ruggedness showed
Okay, so if that's the arch of one lip, the next one would be right there. Well, I guess we're not gonna listen to Dracula anymore. Why? What's wrong? Why? What's happening? Technology. Tell you what. So if you just started watching, I am using a lot of acrylic mediums on this painting. Slow dry and some glazing mediums. Because I did learn that using too much water can actually diminish the bond that the paint has to the canvas. We don't want that. I don't want that. I want my paintings to live forever. So we're getting comfortable with glazing mediums. And AI summary says painting a scene inspired by Dracula. It's a fairy, so probably not, but yeah.
Now close to me, I could not but notice that they were rather coarse, broad, with squat fingers. Strange to say, there were hairs in the centre of the palm. The nails were long and fine, and cut to a sharp point. As the Count leaned over me and his hands touched me, I could not repress a shudder. It may have been that his breath was blank, but a horrible feeling of nausea came over me, which, do what I would, I could not conceal. The Count, evidently noticing it, drew back, and with a grim sort of smile, which showed more than he had yet done his protuberant teeth, sat himself down again on his own side of the fireplace. We were both silent for a while, and as I looked towards the window, I saw the first dim streak of the coming dawn. There seemed a strange stillness over everything, but as I listened,
people get to watch me have a mental breakdown because I can't paint a nose. Yeah. Happy Sunday. I'm just kidding, I'm not gonna have a mental breakdown.
Seeing, I suppose, some expression in my face strange to him.
Maybe.
Ah, sir,
as long as it cooperates.
Into the feelings of the hunter. Then he rose and said, "But you must be tired. Your bedroom is all ready, and tomorrow you shall sleep as late as you will. I have to be awake in the afternoon, so sleep well and dream well." With a courteous bow, he opened for me himself the door to the octagonal room, and I entered my bedroom. I'm all in a sea of wonders. I doubt, I fear, I think strange things which I dare
It's hard to paint on the
If only
TikTok
for the
live
sake of those
sometimes,
beauties.
just because it's like you want to be engaging and
It is again early morning,
and
but
stuff,
I've
but
rested
also
and enjoyed the last
it's
20
almost like
hours.
work, you know, you're
I slept till late in the day.
trying to
and woke
concentrate
by
on
accord. When I had dressed
everything you're
myself,
effing
I
up
went into
and
the room where we had supped and found a cold breakfast laid out, with coffee kept hot by the pot being placed on the hearth.
I get
There was
into
a
like
card
a
on the
different
table on which was
zone
written,
too,
"I have to be absent.
different planet, different realm, whatever.
I set to and enjoyed a hearty meal.
I do that when I'm not painting
I looked for
too.
a bell so that I might let the servants know I had finished, but I could not find one. There are certainly odd deficiencies in the house, considering the extraordinary evidences of wealth which are around me. The table service is of gold, and so beautifully wrought that it must be of immense value. The curtains and upholstery of the chairs and sofas, and the hangings of my bed are of the costliest and most beautiful fabrics, and must have been of fabulous value when they were made, for they are centuries old, though in excellent order. I saw something like them in Hampton Court, but there they were worn and frayed and moth-eaten. But still, in none of the
It's all
rooms
about
is there
shadows.
There was not even a toilet glass on my table. I had to get the little shaving glass from my bag before I could either shave or brush my hair. I have not yet seen a servant anywhere or heard a sound near the castle except the howling of wolves. Some Sometime after
I
finished
hope
my
you guys can see what
breakfast or dinner for
I'm
between 5 and 6 o'clock.
doing
When I had
here.
it, I looked about for something to read, for I did not like to go about the castle until I had asked the Count's permission. There was absolutely nothing in the room, book, newspaper, or even writing materials. So I opened another door in the room and found a sort of library. The door opposite mine I tried, but found it locked. In the library I found, to my great delight, a vast number of English books, whole shelves full of them, and bound volumes of magazines and newspapers. The table in the centre was littered with English magazines and newspapers, though none of them were of very recent date. The books were of the most varied kind: history, geography, politics, political economy, botany, geology, law, all relating to England and English life and customs and manners. There were even such books of reference as the London Directory, the Red and Blue books, Whitaker's Almanac, the Army and Navy lists, and it somehow gladdened my heart to see it.
Yay, there's a nose, you guys.
Whilst I was looking at the books,
Whew.
the Count entered. He saluted me in a hearty way, and hoped that I had had a good night's rest. Then he went on. I am glad you found your way in here, for I am sure there is much that will interest you. These companions, and he laid his hand on some of the books, have been good friends to me, and for some years past, ever since I had the idea of going to London, have given me many, many hours of pleasure. Through them I have come to know your great England, and to know her is to love her. I long to go through the crowded streets of your mighty London, to be in the midst of the whirl and rush of humanity, to share its life, its change, its death, and all that makes it what it is. But, alas, as yet I only know your tongue through books. To you, my friend, I look that I know it to speak. But Count, I said, you know and speak English thoroughly. He bowed gravely. I thank you, my friend, for your old flattering estimate, but yet I fear that I am but a little way on the road I would travel. True, I know the grammar and the words, but yet I know not how to speak them. Indeed, I said, you speak excellently. Not so, he answered. Well, I know that did I move and speak in your London, none there are who would not know me for a stranger. That is not enough for me. Here,
Well,
I am noble.
before I do any more, I need to let it kind of dry in that area, because all I'm doing is kind of smearing it now.
Men know him not, and to know not is to care not for. I am content if I am like the rest, so that no man stops if he see me, or
Except for this part,
speaking if he
even
hears
though I
my
just
words.
said I'm not gonna work on it.
A
Over,
stranger.
still over
I
here.
have been so long master, I would be master still, or at least that none other should be master over me. You come to me not alone as agent of my friend Peter Hawkins of Exeter to tell me all about my new estate in London. You shall, I trust, rest here with me a while, so that by our talking I may learn the English intonation. And I would that you tell me when I make error, even of the smallest in my speaking. I am sorry that I have to be away so
My
long today, but
vision
will
with
not
her
forgive
was
one who
that
has so many
she
important affairs in hand.
was going
Of
to
course, I
be
said
like
all I could about being willing,
an
and
obsidian
asked when I come into the
statue.
room when I chose. He answered, yes, certainly, and added,
She's a little more
where you wish,
fluid, I guess,
but
than
except where the doors are locked.
like what you would
Of
think
course,
of
I
a
do not wish to go.
statue,
It is
anyways.
reasonable
But
things are as they are, and did you see with
I love
my
her.
eyes and know with my knowledge, you would
I
perhaps
think she's
better
great.
understand. I said I was sure of this, and then he went on.
put some Hooker's Green on here. Hooker's Green is kind of more of a
Our ways are
transparent
not your ways,
green,
there shall
whereas
be
the
many
chromium
strange
oxide that I was
From what you have told
using,
me of your experience,
that's
you
more of an
know something
opaque
of what strange
green.
things there may be.
So this one, very opaque.
And as it was evident that he wanted to talk, if only for talk's
Can you
sake,
see it?
I asked him many questions regarding
Chromium
the overall
oxide,
pattern
very
that
opaque.
will come within my notice.
And then
Sometimes he sheered off the subject, or turned
Hooker's green, a little bit more
He
transparent.
answered all I asked, most friendly. Then, as time went on, and
If I want to
I asked him some strange things in the preceding night.
have the
as, for instance,
underneath colors
places where he had seen the blue
still
flames.
visible.
He then explained to me that it was commonly believed that on a certain night of the year, last night in fact, when all evil spirits are supposed to have unchecked sway, a blue flame is seen over any place where treasure has been concealed. That treasure has been hidden, he wrote, in the region through which you came last night.
What are we gonna do about
For it was the ground
hands?
fought over for centuries by the Wallachian and the Saxon.
Probably throw them in the garbage, right?
Why? There is hardly a
Just kidding.
All this region that has not been enriched
Isn't that
by
funny?
the blood of men, patriots or invaders. In old days there were stirring times when the Austrian and the Hungarian came up in hordes, and the patriots went out to meet them, men and women, the aged and the children too, and waited their coming on the ropes above the passes that they might sweep destruction.
Got
on
some
them with
black
their
on here,
artificial
but
avalanches.
this black is very opaque. It's Mars black. Be very careful with Mars black. Make sure that wherever you're putting it, you really want a deep black.
Take the trouble to look. The Count smiled, and as his lips ran back over his gums, the long, sharp canine teeth showed out strangely. He answered, "Because your peasant is at heart a coward and a fool. Those flames only appear on one night, and on that night no man of this land will, if he can help it, stir without his doors. And dear sir, even if he did, he would not know what to do. Why? Even the peasant that you tell me of who marks the place of the flame does not know where to look in daylight, even for his own work.
A little bit bigger of a brush, just so I can have some more paint loaded.
There, you are right, I said. I know no more than the dead, where even to look for them. Then we drifted into other matters.
Here's a finger.
Come, he said at last. Tell me of London and of the house which you have procured for me. With an apology
Think
for my
about
listeners, I went into my own room to
how
get
that
papers from my
looks.
bag. Whilst I was placing them in order, I heard a rattling of china and silver in the next room, and as I passed through, noticed that the table had been cleared and the lamp lit, for it was by this time deep into the dark. The lamps were also lit in the study,
Obviously
brightly,
darker
and I found the
where the
Count
light
lying on the sofa,
isn't
reading of all
shining
things in
on
the
it.
world, an English Bradshaw's
So
kind.
inside this
When
palm
I came in, he
area,
picked books and papers from the table, and with him I went into plans and deeds and figures of all sorts. He was interested in everything, and asked me a myriad questions about the place and its surroundings. He clearly had studied beforehand all that he could on the subject of the neighbourhood, for he evidently at the end knew very much more than I did. When I remarked this, he answered, "Well, but my friend, is it not needful that I should? When I go there, I shall be all alone, and my friend, Harker Jonathan. Nay, pardon me, I fall into my country's habit of putting your patronymic first. My friend, Jonathan Harker, will not be by my side to correct and aid me. He will be in Exeter, miles away, probably working at papers of the law with my other friend, Peter Hawkins. So, we went thoroughly into the business of the purchase of the estate at Purfleet. When I had told him the facts and got his signature to the necessary papers, and had written a letter with them ready to post to Mr. Hawkins, he began to ask me how I had come across so suitable a place. I read to him the notes which I had made at the time, and which I inscribed here. At Purfleet, on a by-road, I came across just such a place as seemed to be required, and where was displayed a dilapidated notice that the place was for sale.
I'm sorry, it kind of makes a little bit of a
Of ancient structure, built of
shine on
stones,
the
and had not been
painting,
repaired for a
but
large number of years.
I can't
The
fucking
closed
see,
gates were of
so
heavy old oak and iron, all equal with rust. The estate is called Carfax, no doubt a
And if
corruption
I'm
of
gonna
the old
paint
Quatre
a
Faces,
fucking
as the house
hand,
is four-sided, agreeing with the
I need to
documents
see what
of
I'm
the
doing.
It contains in all some 20 acres, quite surrounded by the solid stone wall above mentioned. There are many trees on it, which make it in places gloomy, and there is a deep, dark-looking pond or small lake, evidently fed by some springs, as the water is clear and flows away in a fair-sized stream. The house is very large and of all periods back, I should say, to medieval times, for one part is of stone immensely thick, with only a few windows high up and heavily barred with iron. It looks like part of a keep. It is close to an old chapel or church. I could not enter it.
I'm telling you.
The door leading to it from the house, but I have taken the
Painting hands.
The house has been added
Who does this? Psychos.
Psychos.
Grounded covers, which must be very great. There are but few houses close at hand. One being a very large house only recently added to and formed into a private lunatic asylum. It is not,
Lunatic
however,
asylum.
visible from the grounds. When I had
Save me a
finished, he said,
room.
I am glad that it is all that big. I myself am of an old family, and to live in a new house would kill me. A house cannot be made habitable in a day, and after all, how few days go to make up a century. I rejoice also that there is a chapel of old times. We Transylvanian nobles.
Sure, just have a frickin' baseball mid of a hand if that's what you want.
Not gaiety nor mirth, not the bright voluptuousness of much sunshine and sparkling waters which please the young and gay. I am no longer young, and my heart, through weary years of mourning over the dead, is not attuned to mirth. Moreover, the walls of my castle are broken, the shadows are many, and the wind breathes cold through the broken battlements and casements. I love the shade and the shadow, and would be alone with my thoughts when I may. Somehow his words and his look did not seem to accord, or else it was that his cast of face made his smile look malignant and saturnine. Presently, with an excuse, he left me, asking me to put all my papers together. He was some little time away.
Okay. I don't know what you can see, but that's a fucking ugly hand.
And on examining these, I noticed that one
It's okay.
manifestly where his new estate was
I just have to probably let it dry a little.
Exeter and Whitby on the Yorkshire coast.
Oh, shoot.
It was the better
I'm
part of
pushing
an hour
buttons.
when
I'm
the
sorry,
Count
whoever's in here.
Aha, he said.
Thank you for
"Still
sticking
at your
around.
boots. Good. But you must not work always. Come, I am informed that your supper is ready." He took my arm and we went into the next room, where I found an excellent supper ready on the table. The Count again excused himself, as he had dined out on his being away from home, but he sat as on the previous night and chatted whilst I ate. After supper I smoked, as on the last evening, and the Count stayed with me, chatting and asking questions on every conceivable subject, hour after hour. I felt that it was getting very late indeed, but I did not say anything, for I felt under obligation to meet my host's wishes in every way. I was not sleepy, as the long sleep yesterday had fortified me, but I could not help experiencing that chill which comes over one at the coming of the dawn, which is like, in its way, the turn of the tide. They say that people who are near death die generally at the change of the dawn or at the turn of the tide. Anyone who has, when tired, and tied as it were to his post, experienced this change in the atmosphere can well believe it. All at once we heard the crow of a cock coming up with preternatural shrillness through the clear morning air. Count Dracula, jumping to his feet, said, "Why, there is the morning again. How remiss I am to let you stay up so long. You must make your conversations regarding my dear new country of England less interesting, so that I may not forget how time flies by us." And with a courtly bow, he quickly left me. I went into my own room and drew the curtains, but there was little to notice. My window opened onto the courtyard. All I could see was the warm grey of quickening sky. So I pulled the curtains again and have written of this day. 8th of May. I began to fear as I wrote in this book that I was getting too diffuse. But now I am glad that I went into detail detail from the first, for there is something so strange about this place and all in it that I cannot but feel uneasy. I wish I was safe out of it, or that I had never come. It may be that this strange night existence is telling on me, but would that were all. If there were anyone to talk to, I could bear it, but there is no one. I have only the Count to speak to, and he... I fear I am myself the only living soul within the place. Let me be prosaic, so far as facts can be. It will help me to bear up, and imagination must not run riot with me. If it does, I am lost. Let me say at once.
So I'll hate this, and then tomorrow I'll look at it and I'll be like, look at this masterpiece.
I could not sleep anymore. I hung my shaving glass by the window and was just beginning to shave. Suddenly, I felt a hand on my shoulder and heard the Count.
But I'm just trying to figure out the lighting,
like. For it amazed me that I had not seen him, since the reflection of the glass covered the whole room behind.
I need to get a
In starting, I had cut my
tablet. Sorry about the burp.
Did not notice it at the moment.
Oops, I said sorry and then just did it again.
Salutation. I turned to the glass again to see how I had been mistaken.
Manners
This time
aren't
there could be no error, for the man was
anywhere
close
to be
me, and
found.
I could see him over my shoulder, but there was no.
I hope you can see it.
The whole room behind me was displayed, but there was no sign of a man.
The AI summary says I'm painting a gothic hand while reading a story about a mysterious house.
Vague feeling of uneasiness, which I always have when the Count is near. But at the instant I saw that the cut had bled a little, and the blood was trickling over my chin, I laid down the razor, turning as I did so half round to look for some sticking plaster. When the Count saw my face, his eyes blazed with a sort of demoniac fury, and he suddenly made a grab at my throat. I drew away, and his hand touched the string of beads which held the crucifix. It made an instant change in him, for the fury passed so quickly that I could hardly believe that it was ever there. "Take care," he said. "Take care how you cut yourself. It is more dangerous than you think in this country." Then seizing the shaving glass, he went on, "And this is the wretched thing that has done the mischief. It is a foul bauble of man's vanity. Away with it." And opening the heavy window with one wrench of his terrible hand, he flung out the glass, which was shattered into 1,000 pieces on the stones of the courtyard far below. Then he withdrew without a word. It is very annoying, for I do not see how I am to shave, unless in my watch case or the bottom of the shaving pot, which is fortunately of metal. When I went into the dining room, breakfast was prepared, but I could not find the Count anywhere, so I breakfasted alone. It is strange that as yet I have not seen the Count eat or drink. He must be a very peculiar man. After breakfast, I did a little exploring in the castle. I went out on the stairs and found a room looking towards the south. The view was magnificent.
This is
And
so
from where I stood, there
fucking
was every
pretty.
opportunity of seeing it. The
You're
castle
so
is on the very edge
pretty.
of a terrible precipice. A stone falling from the window would fall 1,000 feet without touching anything. As far as the eye can reach is a sea of green treetops, with occasionally a deep rift where there is a chasm. Here and there are silver threads where the rivers wind in deep gorges through the forest. But I am not in heart to describe beauty, for when I had seen the view, I explored further. Doors, doors, doors everywhere, and all locked and bolted. In no place safe from the windows in the castle walls is there a available exit. The
Fucking
castle is a
looking
veritable
good.
prison, and I am a prisoner. Chapter 3. Jonathan Harker's Journal. Continued. When I found that I was a prisoner, a sort of wild feeling came over me. I rushed up and down the stairs, trying every door and peering out of every window I could find, but after a little, the conviction of my helplessness overpowered all other feelings. When I look back after a few hours, I think I must have been mad for the time, for I behaved much as a rat does in a trap. When, however, the conviction had come to me that I was helpless, I sat down quietly, as quietly as I have ever done anything in my life, and began to think over what was best to be done. I am thinking still, and as yet have come to no definite conclusion. Of one thing only am I certain, that it is no use making my ideas known to the Count. He knows well that I am imprisoned, and as he has done it himself, and has doubtless his own motives for it, he would only deceive me if I trusted him fully with the facts. So far as I can see, my only plan will be to keep my knowledge and my fears to myself and my eyes open. I am, I know, either being deceived like a baby by my own fears, or else I am in desperate straits. And if the latter be so, I need and shall need all my brains to get through. I had hardly come to this conclusion when I heard the great door below shut, and knew that the Count had returned. He did not come at once into the library, so I went cautiously to my own room and found him making the bed. This was odd, but only confirmed what I had all along thought, that there were no servants in the house. When later I saw him through the chink of the hinges of the door laying the table in the dining room, I was assured of it. For if he does himself all these menial offices,
I know it doesn't really
surely it is
look like
proof that there is
anything,
no one
but it
else.
will.
This gave me a fright, for if there is no one else in the castle, it must have been the Count himself who was the driver.
At least it
of the
has to
coach.
be. I have a deadline to keep.
This is a terrible thought. For if so, what does it mean that he could control the wolves as he did by only holding up his hand in silence? How was it that all the people at Bistritz and on the coach had some terrible fear for me? What meant the giving of the crucifix, of the garlic, of the wild rose, of the mountain ash? Bless that good woman who hung the crucifix round my neck, for it is a comfort and a strength to me whenever I touch it. It is odd that a thing which I have been taught to regard with disfavour and as idolatrous should in a time of loneliness and trouble be of help. Is it that there is something in the essence of the thing itself, or
You
there
guys,
is a medium,
I just realized
tangible help in conveying
I
memories
just
to
had a mental breakdown on this hand, and there's two of those things,
I
so.
must examine this matter and try to make up my mind. In the meantime, I must find
Bitch.
out all I can about Count Dracula, as it may help me to understand. Tonight, he may talk of himself, if I turn the conversation that way.
Anybody ever has any
I must be very careful, however, not
suggestions about hands, I am all ears.
midnight.
I almost said
I have had a
hands.
long
I'm all
talk
hands.
with the Count. I asked him a few questions on Transylvania history, and he warmed up to the subject wonderfully. In his speaking of things and people, and especially of battles, he spoke as if he had been present at them all. This he afterwards explained by saying that to a boyar the pride of his house and name is his own pride, that their glory is his glory, that their fate is his fate. Whenever he spoke of his house, he always said we, and spoke almost in a plural, like a king speaking. I wish I could put down all he said exactly as he said it, for to me it was most fascinating. It seemed to have in it a whole history of the country. He grew excited as he spoke, and walked about the room pulling his great white moustache and grasping anything on which he laid his hands as though he would crush it by main strength. One thing he said which I shall put down as nearly as I can, for it tells in its way the story of his race. We Secules have a right to be proud, for in our veins flows the blood of many brave races who fought as the lion fight for lordship. Here, in the whirlpool of European races, the Ugric tribe bore down from Iceland the fighting spirit which Thor and Odin gave them, which their berserkers displayed to such fell intent on the seaboards of Europe, aye, and of Asia and Africa too, till the peoples thought that the werewolves themselves had come. Here, too, when they came, they found the Huns, whose warlike fury had swept the earth like a living flame, till the dying peoples held that in their veins ran the blood of those old witches who, expelled from Sodom, had mated with the devils in the desert. Fools. Fools! What devil or what witch was ever so great as Attila, whose blood is in these veins? He held out his arms. Is it a wonder that we were a conquering race, that we were proud. That when the Magyar, the Lombard, the Avar, the Bulgar, or the Turk poured his thousands on our frontiers, we drove them back. Is it strange that when Arpad and his legions swept through the Hungarian fatherland,
It's just a struggle because her face is already at like an angle. Obviously is intentional.
And to us for centuries was trusted the guarding of the frontier of Turkeyland.
But holy fuck, it's hard, you know.
Frontier guard, for as the Turks say, water sleeps and enemy is sleepless. Who, more gladly than we throughout the foreign nations, received the bloody sword, or at its warlike call flocked quicker to the standard of the king? When was redeemed that great shame of my nation, the shame of Kosovo? When the flags of the Wallach and the Magyar went down beneath the crescent? Who was it but one of my own race who, as voivode, crossed the Danube and beat the Turk on his own ground? This was a Dracula indeed. Woe was it that his own unworthy brother, when he had fallen, sold his people to the Turk and brought the shame of slavery on them. Was it not this Dracula indeed who inspired that other of his race, who in a later age again and again brought his forces over the
What's
great
fun about this is that
when he was beaten back, came
she's
again
just a
and
made-up
again and
fantasy
again,
character, so she doesn't have to be
where the troops were being
like
slaughtered,
anatomically
since he
correct.
knew
She
that
can
he
be whatever the
alone
heck
could
I want her to
ultimately
be.
triumph.
So,
He said that he thought only of himself.
thank you to whoever's watching.
What good
Still.
are peasants without a leader? Where ends the war?
Sure it's really
without a
riveting.
man with a heart to conduct it? Again, when
But,
after the Battle of Mohacs we threw off the Hungarian yoke,
That's why with my
we
other
of the
paintings,
Dracula
when people
blood
tell
were
me
not
to
their leaders, for our spirit
change
would not walk
anatomy,
if we were not free.
I just laugh at them.
Ah, young sir,
Like,
the cities
I'm not
and
gonna
the
change my
Draculas, their heart's
painting
blood, their
to make
brains
it
and
what
their
you
swords.
want it to be, but
Those that
thank
hold
you
that
for the
mushroom
suggestion.
growth like the Habsburgs and the Romanovs can never reach. The warlike days
Never
are
ask
over.
somebody to
Blood
change
is
their
too
art.
precious a thing in these days of
Incredibly
dishonorable
rude.
peace. And the glories of the great races are as a tale that needs to be told.
Unless they're
It was by this
specifically
time we saw
asking,
them, and we went to bed.
but that's obviously a different
This
story.
diary seems horribly like the beginning of the Arabian Nights, where everything has to break off at cockcrow, or like the ghost of Hamlet's father. 12th of May. Let me begin with facts. Bare, meagre facts, verified by books and figures, and of which there can be no doubt. I must not confuse them with experiences which will have to rest on my own observation or my memory of them. Last evening, when the Count came from his room, he began by asking me questions on legal matters and on the doing of certain kinds of business. I had spent the day wearily over books and, simply to keep my mind occupied, went over some of the matters I had been examining at Lincoln's Inn. There was a certain method in the Count's inquiries, so I shall try to put them down in sequence. The knowledge may somehow, or sometime, be useful to me. First, he asked if a man in England might have 2 solicitors or more. I told him he might have a dozen if he wished, but that it would not be wise to have more than one solicitor engaged in one transaction, as only one could act at a time, and that change would be certain to militate against his interest. He seemed thoroughly to understand, and went on to ask if there would be any practical difficulty in having one man to attend, say, to banking, and another to look after shipping, in case local help were needed in a place far from the home of the banking solicitor. I asked him to explain more fully, so that I might not by any chance mislead him. So he said, I shall illustrate. Your friend and mine, Mr. Peter Hawkins, from under the shadow of your beautiful cathedral at Exeter, which is far from London, buys for me through your good self my place at London. Good. Now, here
I think that almost anybody could really paint. I think
the difference between people who have it more of a hobby and then people who have a paid hobby. I really think a lot of it just comes down to how much patience you have, how much time are you willing to spend on it.
Now, suppose I, who have much of affairs, wish to ship goods, say to Newcastle.
Not that I want to make it sound like it's super easy what I'm doing, but it definitely, I think, looks harder than some people would think.
That certainly it would be most easy, but that we solicitors had a system of agency, one for the other, so that local work could be done locally on instruction from any solicitor, so that the client, simply placing himself in the hands of one man, could have his wishes carried out by him without further trouble. But, said he, I could be at liberty to direct myself, is it not so? Of course.
Thanks for watching.
And such is often done by men of business who do not like the whole of their affairs to be known by any one person. Good, he said, and then went on to ask about the means of making consignments and the forms to be gone through.
Anybody has any questions related to painting, I'll try my best to answer them. I don't really look enough, but hopefully if you're here you just want to watch some painting. That's all I have to offer you.
His knowledge and acumen were wonderful. When he had satisfied himself on these points of which he had spoken, and I had verified all as well as I could by the books available, he suddenly stood up and said, have you written since your first letter to our friend Mr. Peter Hawkins, or to any other? It was with some bitterness in my heart that I answered that I had not, that as yet I had not seen any opportunity of sending letters to anybody. Then right now, my young friend, he said, laying a heavy hand on my shoulder, write to our friend and to any other, and say, if it will please you, that you shall stay with me until a month from now. Do you wish me to stay so long? I asked, for my heart grew cold at the thought. I desire it much. Nay, I will take no refusal. When your master, employer, what you will, engaged that someone should come on his behalf, it was understood that my needs only were to be consulted. I have not stinted, is it not so? What could I do but bow acceptance? It was Mr. Hawkins' interest, not mine, and I had to think of him, not myself. And besides, while Count Dracula was speaking, there was that in his eyes and in his bearing which made me remember that I was a prisoner, and that if I wished, I could have no choice.
I love you.
The Count saw his victory in my bow, and his mastery in the trouble of my face, for he began at once to use them, but in his own smooth, resistless way. I pray you, my good young friend, that you will not discourse of things other than business in your letters. It will doubtless please
I think soon I'm gonna have to move on to the other hand that I'm dreading.
As he spoke, he handed me 3 sheets of notepaper and 3 envelopes. They were all of the thinnest foreign post, and looking at them, then at him, and noticing his quiet smile with the sharp canine teeth lying over the red underlip, I understood as well as if he had spoken that I should be careful what I wrote, for he would be able to read it. So I determined to write only formal notes now, but to write fully to Mr. Hawkins in secret, and also to Nina, for to her I could write in shorthand, which would puzzle the Count if he did see it. When I had written my 2 letters, I sat quiet, reading a book whilst the Count wrote several notes, referring as he wrote them to some books on his table. Then he took up my 2 and placed them with his own, and put by his writing materials, after which, the instant the door had closed behind him, I leaned over and looked at the letters, which were face down on the table. I felt no compunction in doing so, for under the circumstances I felt that I should protect myself in every way I could. One of the letters was directed to Samuel F. Billington, number 7.
How did I do that?
Another to Herr Leutner,
So,
Varner. The third was to Coots
fingernail.
and the fourth to Heron, Klopstock, and Bilboit, bankers Budapest.
Suck
The
it
second and
up!
fourth were unsealed. I was just about to look at them when I saw the door handle move. I sank back in my seat, having just had time to replace the letters as they had been and to resume my book before the Count, holding still another letter in his hand, entered the room. He took up the letters on the table and stamped them carefully, and then turning to me, said, "I trust you will forgive me, but I have much work to do in private this evening. You will, I hope, find all
Oh
things
my
as you
gosh,
wish."
this hand might be
At the
much
door,
easier. It
and
just
after a
feels
moment's
like
pause,
it's
it said, "Let me
more
advise you,
cooperative.
my dear young friend. Nay, let me warn you with all seriousness that should you leave these rooms, you will not by any chance go to sleep in any other part of the castle. It is old and has many memories, and there are bad dreams for those who sleep unwisely. Be warned. Should sleep now or ever overcome you or be like to do, then haste to your own chamber or to these rooms, for your rest will then be safe. But if you be not careful in this respect, then..." He finished his speech in a gruesome way.
Well, I
with
ran
motion
out
with his
of
hands as if he were washing. I quite understood.
Payne's Gray is actually my favorite color. I use it on every single...
Horrible net of gloom and mystery which
Hey Matthew,
around me.
I use it on every single painting. It's my favorite color.
The last words written, but this time
Gray.
there was no doubt in question.
Of course it is.
I shall not fear to sleep in any place where he is not. I have placed the crucifix over the head of my bed. I imagine that my rest is thus free.
We are listening to Dracula, if you're wondering.
When he left me, I went to my room. After a little while, not hearing any sound, I came out and went up the stone stair to where I
Cheers.
could look out towards the south. There was some sense of freedom in the vast expanse, inaccessible though it was to me, as compared with the narrow darkness of the courtyard.
Gotta add
Looking
some
out
more
on this, I felt that I
medium.
was indeed in prison, and I seemed to want a breath of fresh air, though it were off night. I am beginning to feel this nocturnal existence tell on me. It is destroying my nerve. I start at my own shadow, and am full of all sorts of horrible imaginings. God knows that there is ground for my terrible fear in this accursed place. I looked out over the beautiful expanse, bathed in soft yellow moonlight till it was almost as light as day. In the soft light, the distant hills became melted, and the shadows in the valleys and gorges of velvety blackness. The mere beauty seemed to cheer me. There was peace and comfort in every breath I drew. As I leaned from the window, my eye was caught by something moving a story below me, and somewhat to my left, where I imagined, from the order of the rooms, that the windows of the Count's own room would look out. The window at which I stood was tall and deep, stone mullioned, and though weather-worn, was still complete, but it was evidently many a day since the case had been there. I drew back behind the stonework and looked carefully out. What I saw was the Count's head coming out from the window. I did not see the face, but I knew the man by the neck and the movement of his back and arms. In any case, I could not mistake the hands which I had had so many opportunities of studying. I was at first interested.
There's nobody else there
somewhat
anyways.
amused, for it is wonderful how small a matter will interest and amuse a man when he is a prisoner. But my very feelings changed to repulsion and terror when I saw the whole man slowly emerge from the window and begin to crawl down the castle wall over that dreadful abyss, face down, with his cloak spreading out around him like great wings. At first I could not believe my eyes. I thought it was some trick of the moonlight, some weird effect of shadow, but I kept looking, and it could be no delusion. I saw the fingers and toes grasp the corners of the stones, worn clear of the mortar by the stress of years, and by thus, using every projection and inequality, move downwards with considerable speed, just as a lizard moves along a wall. What manner of man is this? Or what manner of creature is it in the semblance of man? I feel the dread of this horrible place overpowering me. I am in fear, in awful fear, and there is no escape for me. I am encompassed about with terrors that I dare not think of. 15th of May. Once more have I seen the Count go out in his lizard fashion. He moved downwards in a sidelong way, some 100 feet down and a good deal to the left. He vanished into some hole or window. When his head had disappeared, I leaned out to try and see more, but without avail. The distance was too great to allow a proper angle of sight. I knew he had left the castle now, and thought it was an opportunity to explore more than I had dared to do as yet. I went back to the room, and taking a lamp, tried all the doors. They were all locked as I had expected, and the locks were comparatively new, but I went down the stone stairs to the hall where I had entered originally. I found I could pull back the bolts easily enough, and unhook the great chains, but the door was locked and the key was gone. That key must be in the Count's room. I must watch should his door be unlocked so that I may get it and escape. I went on to make a thorough examination of the various stairs and passages, and to try the doors that opened from them. 1 or 2 small rooms near the hall were open, but there was nothing to see in them except old furniture, dusty with age and moth-eaten. At last, however, I found one door at the top of the stairway which, though it seemed to be locked, gave a little under pressure. I tried it harder and found that it was not really locked, but that the resistance came from the fact that the hinges had fallen somewhat and the heavy door rested on the floor. Here was an opportunity which I might not have again. So, I exerted myself, and with many efforts forced it back so that I could enter. I was now in a wing of the castle, further to the right than the rooms I knew, and a story lower down. From the windows I could see that the suite of rooms lay along to the south of the castle, the windows of the end room looking out both west and south. On the latter side, as well as to the former, there was a great precipice. The castle was built on the corner of a great rock, so that on 3 sides it was quite impregnable. And great windows were placed here where sling or bow or culverin could not reach, and consequently light and comfort, impossible to a position which had to be guarded, were secured.
Still wet.
To the west was a great valley, and then, rising far away, great jagged mountain fastnesses, rising peak on peak, the sheer rock studded with mountain ash and thorn, whose roots clung in cracks and crevices and crannies of the stone. This was evidently the portion of the castle occupied by the ladies in bygone days, for the furniture had more air of comfort than any I had seen. The windows were curtainless, and the yellow moonlight, flooding in through the diamond panes, enabled one to see even colours, whilst it softened the wealth of dust which lay over all and disguised in some measure the ravages of time and the moth. My lamp seemed to be of little effect in the brilliant moonlight, but I was glad to have it with me. For there was a dread loneliness in the place which chilled my heart and made my nerves tremble. Still, it was better than living alone in the rooms which I had come to hate from the presence of the Count, and after trying a little to school my nerves, I found a soft quietude come over me. Here I am, sitting at a little oak table where in old times possibly some fair lady sat to pen, with much thought and many blushes, her ill-spelt love letter, and writing in my diary in shorthand all that has happened since I closed it last. It is 19th century up to date with a vengeance, and yet, unless my senses deceive me, the old centuries had, and have, powers of their own which mere modernity cannot kill. Later, the morning of the 16th of May. God preserve my sanity, for to this I am reduced. Safety and the assurance of safety are things of the past. Whilst I live on here, there is but one thing to hope for, that I may not go mad, if indeed I be not mad already. If I be sane, then surely it is maddening to think that of all the foul things that lurk in this hateful place, the Count is the least dreadful to me. that to him alone I can look for safety, even though this be only whilst I can serve his purpose. Great God, merciful God.
You could do this.
For out of that way lies madness indeed. I begin to get new lights on certain things which have puzzled me. Up to now, I never quite knew what Shakespeare meant when he made Hamlet say, "My tablets, quick, my tablets, 'tis meet that I put it down," etc. For now, feeling as though my own brain were unhinged, or as if the shock had come which must end in its undoing, I turn to my diary for repose. The habit of entering accurately must help to soothe me. The Count's mysterious warning frightened me at the time. It frightens me more now when I think of it, for in future he has a fearful hold upon me. I shall fear to doubt what he may say. When I had written in my diary and had fortunately replaced the book and pen in my pocket, I felt sleepy. The Count's warning came into my mind, but I took a pleasure in disobeying it. The sense of sleep was upon me, and with it, the obstinacy which sleep brings as outrider. The soft moonlight soothed, and the wide expanse without gave a sense of freedom which refreshed me.
I forgot I was on
I
TikTok
determined
Live.
not to return
Hi.
tonight to the gloom-haunted rooms, but to sleep here, where of old ladies
Oh, 2 people in here. Hey. Freeman's in here. What's up? I don't know how long you've been watching, but
You probably missed all the mental breakdowns. Hopefully.
And I'm thinking of
Hands.
dust, composed myself for sleep.
Why are they so hard?
I suppose I must have fallen asleep. I hope so, but I fear, for all that followed was startlingly real. So real that now sitting here in the broad...
Thank you for saying it's coming along nicely. I was just talking to Roberto, and he's gonna come over as soon as I can complete this, and we are gonna get some pictures taken. Which is so awesome.
In the moonlight opposite me were
Because
three
he is
ladies by their dress and manner.
very talented.
I thought at the time that I must be dreaming when I saw them, for
You know Roberto, right? Everybody knows him.
They came to me and looked at me for some time. And
2
then
minutes.
together.
Nice.
Two were dark and had
Yeah,
hard
Bobby.
noses
Yep.
like a count, and great dark piercing eyes that seemed to be almost red when contrasted with the pale yellow moon. The other was fair as can be, with great wavy masses of golden hair and eyes like pale sapphires. I seemed somehow to know her face, and to know it in connection with some dreamy fear, but I could not recollect at the moment how or where. All three had brilliant white teeth that shone like pearls.
I'm excited for Ricky Brown to be on your
There was
podcast.
something about them that made me uneasy. Some longing, and at the same
I used to
time,
work with his
some
dad,
deep fear. I felt in my heart
and
burning desire that they would kiss me with those lips.
kind of was like a
It is not good
like a dad to me a little bit at work.
Nina's eyes and cause her pain, but it is the truth.
It's a great
They
family.
whispered together, and then they all three laughed. Such a silvery, musical laugh, but as hard as though the sound never could have come through the softness of human lips. It was like the intolerable, tingling sweetness of water glasses when played on by a cunning hand. The fair girl shook her
He
head
was a
pettishly.
skater and had an
The other two
afro.
urged her on.
Nuh-uh. Are you that episode just went live? Sweet.
The other added,
Who had an afro?
"Dark kisses for
Ricky Brown? Oh, Bobby had an afro. Okay, good. Because I was like, what? That makes a lot more sense. Bobby was a skater? I did not know that.
Sweet, it was in one sense, honey sweet, and sent the same tingling through the nerves as her voice.
He didn't have a license when we were in school, so I used to give him a ride home every day
As one smelled of blood.
in silence.
I was afraid to raise my hand, but took down
We
the
wouldn't
small
talk.
lashes. The girl went
It's
on
funny.
her knees and bent over me, simply gloating. There was a deliberate voluptuousness which was both thrilling and repulsive, and as she arched her neck, she actually licked her lips like an animal, till I could see in the moonlight the moisture shining on the scarlet lips and on the red tongue as it lapped the white, sharp teeth. Lower and lower went her head as the lips went below the range of my mouth and chin and seemed about to fasten on my throat.
How to go with your episode? Did you have a good time? He has always been someone reserved, but he was wild on a board. I can believe that. It was great. Yay! That's awesome. Dude, you were made to podcast.
Just touching and pausing there. I closed my eyes in a languorous ecstasy and waited with beating heart.
You know, I have a bunch of podcast equipment that I don't use. If you are in need of anything,
and of his being as if lapped in a storm.
I have
As my eyes opened involuntarily, I saw
hold on, actually, if you let me move these pictures, I can show you. You could just have it. Could be my donation to something good, since you guys are trying to make a good change in the community. I have a audio interface that I'll not probably ever use again. You can put 2 microphones, so you could have 2 people in the same room, both on microphones. I don't know what kind of mic you have. I got 2 of these really fancy ones. Could show you how to set it up and stuff. Just let me know if you want any of that stuff. Donate to your cause, to the cause.
You yourself never loved. You never loved. On this, the other women joined, and such a mirthless, hard, soulless laughter rang through the room that it almost made me faint to hear. It seemed like the pleasure of fiends. Then the Count turned, after looking at my face attentively, and said in a soft whisper, "Yes, I too can love. You yourselves can tell it from the past, is it not so? Well, now I promise you that when I am done with him, you shall kiss him at your will. Now go, go. I must awaken him, for there is work to be done." "Are we to have nothing tonight?" said one of them.
Hey, Whitney.
With a low laugh as she pointed to the bag which she had thrown upon the floor.
How's it going, girl?
And which moved as though there was some living thing within it. For answer, he nodded his head. One of the women jumped forward and opened it. If my ears did not deceive me, there was a gasp and a low wail as of a half-smothered child. The women closed round whilst I was aghast.
Thank you, Jesus, for such amazing souls. Back at you.
There was no door near them, and they could not have passed.
I went to my gallery showing the other day, the opening reception for the most recent gallery that I'm in, and I did get really nervous, and I, of course, got a fucking hive right on my forehead, and then I had a hive on my neck. I was trying so hard not to irritate them even more, but oh my goodness. I think in your old age you'd get better at socializing, and I'm just getting worse and worse at it. Sometimes I think it has to do with the being sober and not drinking alcohol either, because alcohol used to be a really like easy way to like drink and kind of hide things like nervousness. You're just like more relaxed, I guess.
for they may have been evidences that my mind was not as usual, and from some cause or another, I had certainly been much upset. I must watch for proof. Of one thing I am glad. If it was that the Count carried me here and undressed me, he must have been hurried in his task, for my pockets are intact. I am sure this diary would have been a mystery to him which he would not have brooked. He would have taken or destroyed it. As I look around this room, although it has been to me so full of fear, it is now a sort of sanctuary. For nothing can be more dreadful than those awful women who are, waiting to suck my blood.
That's all women, player. What you talking about?
I've been down to look at that room again in daylight, for I must know the truth. When I got to the door,
Okay, I'm ready to call it a
It
day.
had been so forcibly driven against the jam that part of the woodwork was
I
splintered.
have to let her
I could see that the
dry
bolts of the lock had not been shot, but the door is
so
fastened
that I
from
can
the
come in
inside.
and hopefully do some more
I fear it was
finishing
your dream. I
touches.
must act on this tonight.
Let me see if I can get in here a little closer.
Last night, the Count asked me in the suavest tones to write 3 letters. One saying that my work here was nearly done and that I should start for home within a few
If we
days.
can
Another that I was starting on the next
see,
morning for the time.
let me
And a third that I had left the castle and
turn
arrived
that
in
stupid
Essex.
light off.
I would fain have rebelled, but felt that in the present state of things it would be
No, it's just dark. You can't see nothing.
with the Count whilst
Well,
I
I
was so
tried.
absolutely in his
Anyways, I'll have to check out your podcast, and we'll make a plan to get that interface and